All right. I think we're good. So again, hello everyone. Welcome to the UX Portfolio Building Masterclass Part 2, Storytelling in UX Case Studies. I'm Akash Huntush, Marketing Manager here at UXfolio, and I'll be your host today. We're super excited to be teaming up once again with ADP List, one of the best free mentorship platforms out there for UX, product, AI, and more. If you join us for Part 1 in June, welcome back. If this is your first time, glad to have you here. Joining me today is Reka Nudge, product designer at UXfolio and our in-house portfolio expert. Over the past 2 years, Reka has reviewed hundreds of portfolios. She's spoken directly with recruiters and hiring managers to figure out what truly makes a portfolio stand out, not just visually, but in structure, storytelling, and strategy as well. So, here's a brief rundown of what's coming up today. A presentation and then a live demo from Reka. Then a short Q&A segment to answer your questions. After that, some live portfolio reviews, and if we have time, maybe a final Q&A. Just as a note, this session is being recorded, and we'll be sending out the replay after the event. For those of you who are new to UXfolio, it's a no-code website builder made just for UX portfolios. It helps you go from a blank page to published portfolio with built-in case study templates, device mockups, and even AI-assisted writing. You'll see Reka use it during the live demo, so feel free to steal those ideas for your own portfolio. All right, so I think we can get started. Reka, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akash, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited about this session, and it's great to see so many of you here already. I'll share my screen, and we can jump right into what I've prepared for you today. Here we go. So, today we're diving into the heart of every UX portfolio, the case studies. From all the interviews I've had with designers and researchers, one thing is clear. This is the most difficult and time-consuming part of building a portfolio. And it's not just about what to include or how to structure it. The real challenge is telling a story that makes your work convincing and memorable. So in this session, I'll walk you through a simple framework and share some practical tips to help you turn any project into an impactful, story-driven case study. But we won't stop at theory. So just like in part 1, I'll show you what it all looks like in action. I'll build a case study live so you can see exactly how to apply everything we're covering today to a real case study. Before we jump into case studies, here's a quick recap of what we've covered in part 1. If you missed it, you can watch it on UXfolio's YouTube channel. We talked about starting with defining a strategy. That means getting clear on your strengths, areas of expertise, and the types of roles you're aiming for. Once you know that, you can shape your portfolio's content around it. We also covered the essential elements of a strong portfolio. First, the homepage, with a clear and specific headline that tells recruiters exactly who you are and why they should hire you. Think of this as the elevator pitch of your portfolio. And of course, the case studies that actually back up your value proposition and are relevant to the roles you're applying for. Remember, quality over quantity. Next, the About page, a place to tell your career story and give a glimpse of who you are as a person. If you're transitioning to UX from a different field, this is a great place to highlight the transferable skills and how they connect to UX. With that foundation set, you're ready to focus on the part of your portfolio that shows your skills in action, your case studies. So let's dive in. And here's what we'll discuss today. First, we'll uncover the secret ingredient of impactful case studies that actually land jobs. Then, I'll walk you through a simple framework you can apply to any case study. Finally, I'll share some practical tips to enhance storytelling in your case studies. With that, let's dive into the first topic. To understand what hiring managers actually look for in case studies, at UXfolio we interviewed industry experts. One of them was Jared Spool, a leading voice in UX. He told us that what he's always looking for in a portfolio is evidence. Evidence that the person can actually do the job. And he wants to hear the story of how that happened. We also talked to Koji Pereira, who was a product designer at Google at the time. who said that he remembers the portfolios that had very good storytelling, which according to him means very good introduction, then development, and final learnings and next steps. And finally, Susan Weinschenk, author of 1,000 Things Every Designer Needs to Know About People, a great book, by the way, said something very similar. You have to tell a story about a particular project or client. But the heart of the story is not the image of the screen, but the story of what we did with it, why we did it, and what the user's reactions were, and so on. So, based on these quotes, what do you think the secret ingredient to a standout case study is? Well, it's storytelling. But what does this mean in the context of UX case studies? And what's the difference between a case study that tells a story and one that doesn't? Let's break that down. Traditional or documentation style case studies often sound like reports. They list every single step of the process, focusing heavily on methodology and deliverables. They often try to replicate the textbook design process, even when it doesn't reflect what actually happened. This can make them very long, overwhelming, and not useful for a hiring manager who just wants to see how you really think and solve problems. On the other hand, story-driven case studies read like real stories. They take the reader on a journey of how you solve the problem, highlighting the key insights, decisions, and the impact. They are infused with the designer's or researcher's personality and reflect their thought process. Instead of overwhelming the reader with every single step, they highlight the moments that truly matter. They're usually shorter, easier to follow, and much more memorable. Now that we've seen what difference storytelling can make, let's talk about how to actually do it without overcomplicating things. So here's a simple framework you can use to bring storytelling into your case studies. It's inspired by the classic three-part story arc used in books, movies, and even TED Talks. And if we translate that to case studies, it looks like this. First, there's the hook, which pulls readers in and gives them a reason to keep reading. This sets the scene for your story and introduces the problem to spark curiosity of how you solved it and motivate readers to keep reading. Then, the process, which is the core of the case study, where you walk readers through the key stages of your process, but told like a story. It builds up from your insights, then your design explorations, up to an aha moment or turning point, which can be a realization, a surprising insight that changed the direction of the project, and then, or an obstacle even. The key point here is to create some tension in the story, and then show how you overcame it, or how you solved it, or how that changed the project. And show the validation, how you validated your solution. Then the outcome, which is the resolution of your story, where everything comes together and you show the value of your work. This simple structure can help you make your case study engaging, easy to follow, while giving hiring managers exactly what they're looking for. Use this framework as guidance and adapt it to your projects, because every project is unique and case studies should reflect that. Now, let's discuss each part in more detail. First, let's focus on the hook. This is the most critical part of your case study. It's where recruiters and hiring managers decide if they want to keep reading. Your goal here is to communicate value fast and grab their attention. Think of the hook of your case study like the hook in a video or a podcast. Creators know they only have a few seconds to grab your attention before you click away, so they lead with something intriguing. That's exactly what your case study hook should do. To achieve that, include these key elements: an intriguing title, and don't use the name of the product. That tells readers nothing. Instead, highlight the focus of the project, your role, or the outcome. For example, instead of simply saying Duolingo, say Duolingo redesigning the onboarding to reduce drop-offs. Let them know what the project was really about. Then a short overview, describe the circumstances of the project, things like your role and main responsibilities, the team structure, the timeline of the project. This is like introducing the main characters and the setting in a book or a movie. Then a clear problem statement. Frame the problem from the user or the business perspective to make it more relatable. And finally, a teaser of the final solution. This part is a bit different from the hook in books or movies, which usually don't reveal the ending right away. But case studies have a different kind of audience. Recruiters and hiring managers are not reading this for entertainment. They are busy and they want to see results as fast as possible. So give them a teaser of the final outcome, just enough to create curiosity and encourage them to keep reading. Here are two examples of strong case study hooks. In the first one, you can see that there's a clear overview of the project, a specific title, then some key details, and finally, a before-after visual, which immediately shows the impact the designer had in this project. And the other case study includes an embedded video in the hero section, which is also a great way to engage readers instantly. Then an overview, then some key details highlighted in a nice way, and another preview of the final solution with some annotations right on the visual. With that, let's move on to the process. This is the juiciest and most extensive part of your case study. This is where you walk readers through the key stages of your process. One of the biggest mistakes I see in case studies is including every single step just because it was part of the process. Instead, be selective and only include the stages that matter in the big picture, and always connect them. So always refer back to the previous stage when you're talking about, for example, when you're talking about your design explorations, then always refer back to your insights and explain your decisions. And what you should include is in the process is the key insights that shaped your solution. This can be the insights gained through research or by digging into data. And don't include every research report and dashboard. Highlight the most eye-opening or surprising findings. Then highlight your thinking process throughout. Show your ideas, design explorations, and always explain your thinking and reasoning behind them. Then include challenges. Real-life projects are not perfect, and that's okay. So include the obstacles and the challenges and show how you navigated them. Hiring managers really appreciate this. And finally, show how you validated your assumptions. This can be usability testing or just getting feedback from colleagues and stakeholders. Now let's see some examples. So in the first example, you can see that the designer included only the key details for each phase supported by a very clean visual. And also you can observe that the titles of the stages of the process are descriptive. They don't just say research or personas. They say exactly what that stage was about. And you can see the same approach in the second example. You can see that it's divided into bigger stages, but the stages again have very descriptive and intriguing titles like Why AI and Why AI PCs, how it all started. So things like that. It's very important to keep readers engaged throughout. And you can also see the percentages in these case studies. So it's always like, this is the ideal percentage to have like 30-40% text in a section and around 60-70% visual. Let's move on to the outcome part. This is the final part of a case study. And this is where you show what the final solution looked like, what impact it had, and what you learned. Your goal here is to demonstrate the value of your work. Start with showcasing the final designs using high-quality visuals. You can also use a video walkthrough or a GIF or even an embedded prototype to make it more dynamic and also showcase the micro interactions and animations. Next, the impact. This can be quantitative or qualitative impact. The easiest way to show that your solution worked is, of course, by adding metrics like increased trial conversions or reduced drop-offs and so on. But many designers don't have metrics for various reasons, and that's okay. Recruiters and hiring managers know that. Maybe the project wasn't launched, or you don't or no longer have access to data. So you can still make this section powerful by showcasing qualitative impact, including feedback from users or stakeholders. You can include ratings or testimonials from the App Store. And if the project wasn't launched, you can include quotes from usability testing to highlight that your solution actually solves a problem for users. You can also describe the UI and UX improvements. So just show before-after comparisons here and explain how the design was improved, like fewer steps in the onboarding or clearer navigation, things like that. You can also talk about potential impact, describe what the project is expected to achieve, such as increasing signups, reducing drop-offs, or improving user trust. The goal is to communicate the value of your work, even if you don't have numbers to back it up. And lastly, always include a brief reflection. Share what you learned, what you do differently, and the next steps. This shows your ability to reflect and grow, which hiring managers really value. Let's look at two examples. On the left, you can see how the designer showcases the final outcome using well-designed visuals. So it's not just raw screenshots. She presents each feature with nicely designed visuals that match the style of the portfolio. And the example on the right shows metrics, followed by a call to action section, which is a great way to end a case study because it motivates recruiters to reach out to you after reading a convincing case study. Now that you've seen the high-level structure of a story-driven case study, let's zoom in on the smaller details, the things that make your case study easier to follow and more engaging. First, optimize for scanning. Recruiters and hiring managers don't have the time to read everything. They often just skim. So use short paragraphs, clear headings, and supporting visuals in each section to make your case study easier to follow. Then, just like I mentioned earlier, use descriptive headings. The headings of your sections should reflect what the section is about at a glance. This way, your headings will actually create the story outline so readers can get the gist of your story only by reading those. And don't overload your case study with unnecessary artifacts and screenshots. Choose the visuals that support your narrative and always add context so they're not just floating on the page. Be intentional with what you want to include. Also, design your visuals. Instead of pasting in raw screenshots, take the time to style your visuals consistently. Also, add labels or notes, annotations directly on the visuals to make them easier to understand. And this tip also refers to visuals showcasing research insights or data. So all visuals should be consistent and match your case study's overall visual style for a truly polished and professional look. And make your case study more engaging and interactive by adding dynamic elements such as video walkthroughs, GIFs, or embedded prototypes to give a hands-on feel of your designs. These small details make a big difference when someone is reviewing your portfolio. And before we jump into the live building, here are some quick ways you can use AI tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity to make writing your case study easier and faster. Let's see the first one. So, generate a draft from a short project description. Give AI your project summary and a clear structure like overview, problem, solution, and so on. And it can turn that into a first draft you can edit and personalize. You can also turn your slides into a case study. So just paste the slides of a stakeholder presentation, for example, and AI can reframe them into a case study. Next, you can also use AI to extract quotes from user interviews. Just feed AI your user interview notes or transcripts and ask it to pull 3 or 4 quotes that best highlight the key insights. You can use this in your research section of your case study. And my final tip is review like a recruiter. So ask AI to act as a UX hiring manager or recruiter and review your case study. This way, it can spot the gaps and you can fix these before publishing your case study. You can also add the exact job description of the job that you want to apply for, and this will make this much more powerful. These are quick ways to speed up the process, but your own voice should always lead the case study. Now that we've gone through what makes a story-driven case study and how to do it, it's time to put it into practice. We'll use AI to get started, and then I'll show you how to shape it into something that feels personal and impactful. Just let me switch tabs. So, we're going to continue working on the portfolio that we built in part 1 of the masterclass. And for those who missed it, I will do a quick recap. We built this portfolio for a fictional designer called Laura Brooks. We started by writing a headline that communicates her value proposition, which is her data-driven mindset that she brings from her marketing background. After that, we added case studies that support that value proposition, and we wrote outcome-focused titles and also designed consistent thumbnails that match the portfolio's overall aesthetics. We added an about page where we walk through Laura's career journey and her transition from marketing to UX by highlighting the transferable skills and how they connect to her UX work. We also added a section about her interests outside of work. And we added a link to her resume in the navigation of the portfolio. This way, recruiters and hiring managers can quickly access her professional details. Now let's go back to her homepage and add another case study. The topic of the case study that we're going to build today is the onboarding redesign of an app called Pillow Talk. And this is a real mental health app, but this redesign project is fully conceptual. To get started fast, we'll use UXfolio's AI-powered case study generator. And we'll go through 3 quick steps. And if you're not using UXfolio, you can do something similar like I mentioned earlier in the presentation using other tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity, but with UXfolio, this comes built in. So at the first step, we can choose the sections that are relevant for our project. And for the hook, it's always important to include an overview, a problem and solution, and also some project details so recruiters can grasp what the project is about at a glance. And for the process, let's select the key stages of our process. Let's start from interviews, where we gained the main insights from, then design to show our design explorations, and usability testing to also show how we validated our assumptions. And for the closing sections, it's always great to add learnings and next steps, and also business impact or any other type of impact. The next step is uploading our favorite screen from the project. And this will be used in the hero section and in the thumbnail image of the case study. So choose an image that best represents the project. For this example, I'll upload an image. With the redesign of our onboarding flow. Just let me quickly find it. So always add the image that had the biggest impact in your project, because this is the teaser that will make recruiters want to read your case study. Yeah, for some reason, I cannot find this image right now, but it's perfect because we can skip this step and we can jump right to the last step where the magic happens. So here you can add your own prompt, or you can use UXfolio's starter prompt, which is basically a fill-in-the-blank template that lets you describe the project in a very concise and clear way. And we're going to use that. but I actually prepared this beforehand, so we save some time. I just explain what the product is, what my contribution was, and what the outcome of the project was. And then let's hit generate, and it will generate a case study for us. The great thing about this is that it will give us a structured starting point, then we can then edit and personalize. And the great thing about this is that you can focus on shaping your story instead of focusing on where to begin or what layouts to use for each section, because UXfolio will offer some layout ideas and also some image ideas for us. And our case study is generated. So let's start editing it. And we'll go through the 3 parts of the story arc: the hook, the process, and the outcome. We'll start with the hook. So first, I'll edit the hero section of the case study. What's great about UXfolio is that it has these built-in device mockups you can use to just drop your raw screenshots in, and it will instantly look polished. And it also supports GIFs. So to give a more dynamic feel to the hero section of this case study, I will drop a GIF right here. And that's it. I will also change the background of the hero section so it stands out more. And I will also highlight the name of the product in the title. And with that, our hero section is looking really good. So, and if you look at the generated title, it's very engaging. It says enhancing trust through clear onboarding. And the UXfolio also added a subtitle, which includes the metric that was improved as the result of the redesign project. So that's also a great touch. Let's move on to the overview. This is a great start, but I want to make this a bit shorter. And you can do this using ChatGPT, but I will do it with UXfolio's built-in AI editing tools. Just hit shorten, and it will just slightly shorten the section while keeping the core message intact. I like it, so I will just replace that. I want to make another change to the overview, because right now it's focused on the app itself, but I want to focus more on my personal contributions and role in this project. So I will use the custom prompt option and tell the AI something like, rewrite this to highlight my role as the sole product designer and my contributions or responsibilities. And just like that, it will generate the enhanced version for us. And if you want to refine it further, you can do that from here. We can again say something like, make it shorter. And that's it. We have an overview which now focuses more on our role and personal contributions. And to make the hook part more compact, I will combine the overview with the project details. So I'll add a section like columns, and we will only need 2 columns for this. In the first column, I will just copy the overview part, just like that. And in the second column, I will copy some of the important details from here. Your role. This is very important. You should always state your role, and the team structure. This also shows how you can collaborate with other professions, and the timeline of the project. These are all relevant for a hiring manager, so let's add them. And let's delete this separate key details section and also this separate overview section. And with that, we have a very compact overview highlighting the key details of the project. Then there's the problem and the solution. Again, this is very important because recruiters sometimes have only 5 minutes allocated for a portfolio, so they want to see instantly what was the problem and how you solved it, but only share a glimpse here. And we will upload a visual here instead of this gallery with the built-in device mockups. We will do something else. We will add an image. And we will upload the before-after visual. In case of redesign projects, this is a very powerful visual to add either in the hook or in the outcome part of your case study to highlight the impact, the visual impact that you made. And I will add an image here, but what's great about UXfolio is that it lets you copy directly from Figma into UXfolio, so you don't need to export things from Figma. I prepared the before-after visual. I will just copy it and I can paste it directly into UXfolio. And that's it. We have a nice before-after visual showcasing our impact. Then UXfolio added a process bar for our case study, which acts like an interactive table of contents that you can use to make your case study easier to follow and to navigate even. But for this example, we won't need it because we only have 3 stages that we want to go through. And for that, we don't really need a table of contents, but otherwise it's a great thing to add if you have a slightly longer case study. And now let's focus on the first stage of our process, which is the interviews. But in this case, I will change the title to something more descriptive because, as I told you, interviews doesn't say much to readers. So it's very important to add almost like a summary of this section in the title. I will write something like users didn't understand how the free trial works, because this was the core issue that we uncovered during user interviews in this conceptual project. Okay, so users didn't understand how the free trial works. And if you want to make this sound even better and boost the storytelling aspect of it a little bit, you can use the Boost Storytelling AI action in UXfolio, which will help us say this in an even more engaging way. So this is a great title for the research part of our case study, Unpacking Confusion, Understanding the Free Trial. Let's just replace that. And I will also add a smaller label saying research to make the structure of the case study even clearer. As you can see, UXfolio also generated 3 key findings for us. I will highlight these by changing the background. Great. Now let's move on to the actual UI design part. I will delete this image because we have some mockups under the section, and this will keep our layout more consistent. And instead of UI design, I will write the approach here. So explaining our design approach, which was designing for clarity and trust. All right, and I will also add the label saying design. Perfect. With that, our design section is ready. We just need to change these images. And I will add the 3 key images of the flow right here. I will add 2 more. And as you can see, you don't need to design visuals with UXfolio because they will be added in the mockups just like this. And I will also change the background color of this section to make it stand out and also to make it consistent with the other sections. Next up, all right. So next up is the usability testing. And you already know the drill. I will change the title to something more descriptive to communicate what exactly happened at this stage of the project. And what happened here is we tested the new flow with real users. I'm not quite satisfied with this title. I'm not a novelist or anything like that, so I will use AI. And I will use the boost storytelling action again to make this sound a little bit better. Yeah, enhancing user experience through real life testing, something like that. But you can always refine. And I will add the small label here as well. Testing. Great. And then we have the first problem and first solution highlighted, but you can add more if you discovered more issues during testing. And to make this part more visual, I will add images here as well. So just hit edit section, has images, and I will upload an image here first. So this is the before. It's always a good idea to highlight the before and after. So here we show what we tested, what the issues were, and then we also show how we addressed those issues and what the outcome was. Just like that, we have a nice visual testing section. And again, you can just repeat this section for if there were more issues that you want to highlight. Here's an image idea that UXfolio offered for this section, and this is also great, but we already designed it a different way, so I will just delete this. And with that, we finished the process part of our case study. So we started from the key insights that we gained through user testing, user interviews, then designing. And here we could, of course, add more details about our design approach and explain our decisions. You can also add details regarding each screen of this flow. And then finally, the testing. This is how we validated our assumptions. And for this section, you can also embed a Figma prototype to give a hands-on feel of the prototype that you used for the usability tests. And after that, we will see immediately there's the learnings and the next steps, which is a really nice addition, but I like to keep it at the end of the case study, so I will move it there and start with the business impact. Instead of business impact, I will communicate the business impact right in the heading of this section. So enhancing clarity led to 32% increase in trial conversions. And to make this section with the metrics look even better, I will change these to a bigger text style, just like that, and also add a solid background. As you can see, the AI used the first metric that we provided in the short project description when we were generating the case study, and the other two are placeholders here. So always change these to the actual metrics from your project. And then we'll wrap up the case study with some learnings and next steps, which shows our ability to reflect and grow. And just like that, we've finished our case study. So let's check it in view mode. This is how it looks like without all the editing tools. And I always recommend checking your case study before publishing it and sending it out to job applications. Check if the story flows well, check if it looks consistent and whether if it's easy to follow, whether the structure of the sections are consistent, things like that. This is a strong example of story-driven, impactful case study. And if you want to follow this approach, UXfolio can help. And today, as a thank you for joining, we have a special offer just for you. So let's check that out. Just let me switch back to the slides. And here we are. With the discounts you see here, you can build your own portfolio and case studies and use the UX specific and AI powered features that I showed you and many more at a discount. So don't miss out and start building your portfolio today. And that wraps up my presentation. I hope you will walk away excited and inspired to tell better stories in your case studies. And the mic is back to you, Akash.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Rika. So, we're running a little bit late, so we'll be only doing one Q&A segment, but we'll try to get as many answered as possible. So, one of the questions that I saw that always comes up, Rika, you know, this is a favorite. What do you do if you don't have the exact numbers? What do you do if you don't have impact numbers? Stuff like that.
This is a great question because a lot of designers, especially those who are just starting out, won't have numbers. And that's okay. There are other ways to show impact. The important thing is to do it and to show impact somehow. You can always do usability tests after you do even a conceptual project. Do those usability tests and add the quotes from those tests to your impact section. And if you worked on a real project, you can add quotes from your colleagues or from the stakeholders regarding the quality of your designs. And you can also simply explain the difference your design made. So just explain clearly the UX improvements that your design had, saying things like made the navigation clearer or made the branding more consistent across all flows and things like that. So just clearly state that and do that visually too. So add before after images and other types of visuals that support your impact. And you can also mention what you expect your project, what impact do you expect your project to have, even if you don't have numbers yet. So these are the ways you can communicate impact.
All right. So, next one is, what is your take on about pages? What's a good way to use them? Do recruiters, hiring managers actually look at them, and what are they looking for?
This is a really good question. Yes, about pages are often neglected in portfolios, but they are important. Sometimes these are the pages that recruiters check after they checked your homepage and just read your headline. And if based on your headline you seem relevant for the position, some recruiters told me in interviews that they might just go to your about page to assess whether you're a good fit for the company culture and stuff like that, especially hiring managers, because at that stage, cultural fit is also an important consideration. So yes, your about page is important and it should cover two things. It should cover your career journey clearly. So tell your story, and storytelling is very important here as well. But here it's about your personal story. So yes, do that. But also include a bit about your personal side, your side outside of work. So add your interests and hobbies, and add. You can also add some images that let your personality shine through.
All right. So, in regards to adding visuals, they can get pretty small on mobile devices and be tough to view. What is the best way to handle that?
Yeah, that's why it's a great idea not to just throw in a lot of screenshots, but being very intentional with the visuals that you add. So maybe for a section, you will only add maximum 3 screens and then they will scale better on mobile. So if you don't throw in like 10 or 20 screenshots, in one gallery section, then this won't really happen. So just be very intentional with your visuals and always design them. For example, if you remember with what I did for the usability testing section for this example case study that I've just built, those two images, the separate before and the separate after, will scale perfectly well on mobile and will be visible.
All right, let's do two more and then we'll move on. So for personal projects, the impact is usually learning based and or personal. Is it okay to use those as impact statements?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for raising this because this is actually a great addition to my previous answer. So, of course, learnings can also be an impact, especially if you don't have much experience or if you're looking for your first job. Then learning, your ability to learn and grow is a great thing to show in your portfolio.
All right. For the last one, this is an interesting one. If your site has a live mobile demo, uh, will that be a distraction for the hiring manager?
I'm not sure what you mean by live mobile demo, probably refers to a prototype.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're referring to that.
Okay. Yeah, it can be distracting if you don't place it strategically. So I wouldn't place a prototype in the hook part of the case study because one, at that stage, the recruiter is not engaged enough in your case study and in your story to start playing around with the prototype. But after they read your process and why you did certain things like that, so after they've seen the problem that you were trying to solve and your design decisions behind that, then it can be interesting for them to actually explore the prototype. So maybe in the outcome part, it cannot really hurt your case study, I think. But if you're unsure, you can always just add the button that opens the prototype on a separate tab. So that way it doesn't intervene with the flow of reviewing your case study.
All right, awesome. So we don't actually have any more time for questions and answers, but we will be doing more of them on our socials later on. So make sure to follow us. We've been doing that for the first webinars Q&As as well. So let's move on to live portfolio reviews. So we'll go through a few of those that were submitted by you and the audience. Reika will offer feedback on them, what's working, what's not. If your portfolio didn't get selected this time, do not worry. We heard you. We had a lot of questions about this, so we will actually be hosting another webinar that will be only live portfolio reviews. I will be putting the registration link in the chat in just a moment. So if you weren't selected, don't worry, we'll have more opportunities. All right, Reika, take it away.
All right, thanks, Akush. Let me share my screen and we can jump into the first portfolio. So we'll start with Sam's portfolio. And I try to simulate what a recruiter would do when reviewing a portfolio. Remember, they usually don't have much time. So first impressions are very, very important. When I land on this portfolio, the first thing I notice is the balanced, consistent visual design. The hierarchy is also spot on. My eyes go straight to the headline and the case study cards, which is exactly where recruiters' eyes should go. The vibe is modern and clean with just the right pop of accent color here. And just like recruiters, I'll check the navigation to see what the portfolio consists of. I can see that there's a dedicated works page, which I expect to show more projects than the about page, because on the about page, I can see that there are only 4 projects, which is, by the way, an optimal number of projects for the homepage. And I can also see a dedicated about page, which is great. I really like to have separate about pages in portfolios because that way, your homepage doesn't feel overwhelmingly long. So that's a good strategy. And yeah, I can also see here a quick way to get in touch with you. So all the essentials in place. Now let's zoom in on the headline. This is where recruiters check if you're relevant for the role. So your headline should scream why they should hire you, but it for sure should communicate what your exact role is and maybe your experience. But here, this feels a bit generic. I create user-centered designs that bring together creativity and logic. This sounds like a definition of what good UX design is, which is great, but it doesn't tell us anything specific about you, Sam. So if you want to stand out more, make this more specific. Highlight your strongest skill, your industry experience, or the types of projects you've worked on, or what you would like to work on. So, for somebody who doesn't have much experience, it's also a good strategy to highlight their professional interests, and if that matches the role that you're applying for, then you already have an advantage, because who doesn't want someone who is already excited about what they're working on? So yeah, make this a bit more specific to stand out more. Now let's move on to the case studies. This works button next to the My Experience heading seems a bit out of place if you check it together with this button. And it's also not very obvious what it does, so you could rename it to something like View All Works or simply All Works and try to find a better placement for it. I could imagine it being just a link button under the My Experience, or maybe under the case study cards here. The case study cards themselves look great. They are clean, consistent, and super easy to scan. The titles are outcome focused, which I love. And this is a great example of outcome focused titles that don't necessarily have to include metrics. So again, the outcome can be that Sam designed a responsive website from concept to launch. So it was the end-to-end process. This was the outcome. This is a very specific and good and strong title. We also have a title that has a metric in it. How we improved user satisfaction by 30%. This is also a great title. And I also like that you added these little tags with the tasks that you did. Just keep them focused, because probably typography doesn't make much sense. That's included in the design part. So just maybe keep them focused on design or research, or more high level things like that. The visuals work well on these case study cards, so they all have solid background colors and realistic device mockups, and they show responsiveness where it's relevant. So they show how this website looks both on desktop and mobile, and that's great. Now let's check this case study in more detail, because this title really got me interested of how Sam improved the onboarding satisfaction by 30%. So let's check that out. First, let's focus on the hook. So we see a nice preview image that actually matches the image on the case study card that we saw on the home page. And here's a summary of what the company, or in this case a nonprofit organization, does, and some key details about the role, tasks, tools, and timeline of the project. So you really nailed the hook part. And then we have this challenge, goal, and solution part, which set the scene for the actual story and what really happened. And if we scroll further, we can see that the headings are descriptive, so you can follow the story just by skimming them. You have synthesizing prior research and some questions here, and then what we can do with this research. So it's framed, these headings are sometimes framed as questions, which is also engaging and interesting. Yeah. Let's scroll further. I can see that you explain what you set out to improve. And here, how did our new website impact the audience? This section is a bit confusing because it's not clear if this refers to usability testing or already we are at post-launch and this is the feedback that you received after that. Also, the issues and suggestions here are hard to digest, and there's a lot of text, so you should add visuals to highlight these. And also, these long screenshots here are a bit overwhelming without any context. So add annotations, highlight changes or key parts that you talk about here in the text. So just highlight those to make these more interesting for the reader. And I really miss seeing a before-after comparison here in the outcome part of your case study. That would make this super powerful, because this was a redesign project, if I understand correctly. Yes, but the reflection section is a great way to end the case study, and I like that you included both successes and challenges. So it's not only the successes that you reflect upon, and that's great. Nice. We also have links to your other case studies. And now let's check your About page. I actually can navigate to the About page from the navigation. So I like that we are greeted by a friendly photo of you, and there are even more photos if you swipe here. But the sliders are barely visible, so I almost didn't notice them. So make sure those are more easier to spot. And the content is really concise. I also like, but I like that you added the, I'm just saying this, I like that you added the when I'm not working, I'm part. This adds personal touch that we just talked about previously. And this bento grid layout is also a nice visual summary of your career. So overall, this portfolio is polished, well structured, and easy to navigate. With some small tweaks, it will stand out even more. So good job, Sam. And I don't know, Akash, do we have time for another review? I can make it quick.
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it.
Okay, let's jump in. So this is Megan's portfolio, and I really like the different background color and the interesting layout of the hero section. And the accent color is a really nice touch and adds personality. I instantly read the highlighted words: aesthetic, strategic, and user empathy. And if you read the rest of the headline, it is clear that Megan is a product designer with strong visual skills, visual design skills. So it's clear and specific. And moving on to the project, I can see that you added your most recent ones. And this is a great way because you don't overwhelm your visitors with all your projects. And it's very important not to include outdated projects because remember, your portfolio will be judged by your weakest case study. So always prioritize quality when it comes to your case study selection and only add relevant ones. I can see that Megan also has a dedicated project page, but it has the same 3 case studies, so it doesn't really make much sense here. I would just remove that, but if you plan to add more case studies here, then you can, of course, keep it. The layout of the case study cards is consistent, and to make this part even more balanced, I'd suggest making the images consistent too, because the first 2 are pretty similar. They have this blurred background, but the third one with the hand feels a bit out of place. And I like that you highlighted your role and the project type for every project. This helps hiring managers find the most relevant work for their needs. And let's just very quickly, because we're running out of time, check the first project. So the hero section matches the thumbnail on the homepage, which is great. There are also some key details highlighted here. And you clearly introduce the product itself, then the challenge, and then the solution. So that's amazing. And we have a GIF that creatively showcases the outcome. Sometimes we see the logo, sometimes we see a visual, sometimes we see the icon and stuff like that. It's great. And then comes the process part. And here we can see that the headlines are super descriptive and engaging. They reflect what happened in each phase in a creative way. 2 users, 1 shared need. What lagged was storytelling, value-based discovery, and creative transparency. You also provide context for your visuals. For example, here you highlight what each competitor lagged. And you also present the key insights here in a super scannable way. And this how might we section is a very creative way to highlight the problem that you set out to solve. So this acts as like the climax of this case study for me. And after the explorations, branding, and usability testing, you present each core part of the final product. Let me just get there here. So it's great to see that you added context for each visual. And for example, what we talked about earlier in the Q&A part, so this would look great on mobile. and it would still be visible, and yeah, we could still see the details. So overall, this case study is rich with storytelling and personality. My only suggestion is to try to shorten the text in some places because it is a bit text heavy here and there. Yeah, I don't think we have time to check the About page in detail, or maybe I can do it just very, very briefly. It was nice, by the way, that I could navigate to the About page from the footer. So right after finishing a case study, I could easily come here. The headline here is also strong, and your picture is both professional and warm. I also like how you tell your career story from founder and creative director to product designer, and you also highlight the transferable skills. So this is exactly how career switchers can turn their non-UX background into their advantage and differentiator. So overall, this portfolio is really inspiring, clean, and well-structured, letting the content and the screens shine and speak for themselves. So this was it.
All right. Thank you so much, Reka. That's a wrap on part 2 of our UX Portfolio Masterclass. We hope this webinar gave you some great ideas for making your case studies more engaging. Big thanks to Reka for another fantastic session and to ADP List for co-hosting this with us again. If you haven't already, don't forget to check out UXfolio at uxfol.io and ADP List at adplist.org, and follow us on socials for more events and portfolio tips. Just like we said before, we'll be sending the full recording of the webinar out in the coming few days, so keep an eye out for it. And don't forget to register for our next live portfolio review webinar through the link below in the chat. So, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you so much for joining. See you. Bye.